Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so when you picture a three-toed sloth, you probably think cute, fuzzy, maybe a bit lazy, right? Just sort of hanging out.
Exactly, that's the common image. But what if that perceived laziness is actually, well, one of the most extreme survival strategies out there, a constant calculation?
Right, not lazy, but hyper-calculated.
Yeah.
So that's our mission today, isn't it? To look past the memes and really understand how this incredible slowness works for them.
Precisely. We're diving into the sources that detail their life, from the moment they're born, to understand how every single thing they do or don't do is about survival in that tough rainforest environment.
Let's get into it. And it really starts right at birth, doesn't it? Picture this. You're born upside down, high up, and you have to cling on for dear life, instantly.
Yeah, and that first moment involves a huge decision by the mother, a critical one. She actually has to choose to hang lower down, closer to the
Oh,
ground.
well, why would she do that? Seems more dangerous.
Well, because the biggest, most immediate threat isn't below, it's actually above, the harpy eagle,
Yeah.
the terror of the tropical skies. So she lowers herself and the baby to try and stay hidden from that aerial view.
Ah, okay. So she dodges the eagle, but then she's basically put herself right in the path of ground predators, like jaguars, ocelots.
Exactly. It's a trade-off, a massive gamble right from the start. Trading one lethal threat for another, that really sets the stage for the sloth's whole life, this constant risk assessment.
Wow. And the baby has to be ready for this Klingon challenge immediately.
Oh, absolutely. The sources describe their claws as like built-in grappling hooks. They're designed to lock onto mom's fur the second they emerge. Survival right from moment one is just hang on.
Okay, so they survive birth using energy just to grip. How do they start recouping that energy? What's the food situation?
Well, even that is about conservation. The milk they get, it's fatty, yes, but the mother produces it much, much slower than other mammals of a similar size. The baby is basically sustained on just droplets, rationing from the get-go.
Just droplets. And then they move on to leaves as adults,
Right.
right? But they're picky eaters too.
Very picky. They go for the young, soft leaves, mostly to avoid the higher levels of toxic compounds in the older ones.
But wait, if they need energy, why be so selective? Doesn't that limit how much they can actually eat?
It does, but that's kind of the point, because their whole system is geared towards moving so little. I mean, they can sleep up to 20 hours a day. They just don't need that many calories.
Okay, how little are we talking?
Around 70 grams of leaves a day, that's roughly, what, 2 cups? It's incredibly low. Their slow metabolism isn't a defect, it's the key adaptation that makes this low intake work.
Right, the slow metabolism. And this leads to something really, really mind-blowing about their digestion. I mean, the time scales involved are just staggering.
Oh, yeah. This part is fascinating. The sources say it can take up to a full month, for food to pass through their entire system. A single leaf might sit in their multi-chambered stomach for 4 weeks, just slowly being broken down by bacteria.
4 weeks for one leaf.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
But this efficiency, it creates a really strange problem, doesn't it? Something the sources called starving with a full belly.
Yes, exactly. It's a bizarre paradox.
How does that even happen? Starving but full.
Well, imagine a sloth that's already weak, maybe hasn't eaten well for a while, then it finally eats a decent amount. That food fills its stomach, its digestive tract, but because the metabolism is so slow, the nutrients aren't extracted fast enough to actually nourish the animal.
So the food is just sitting there
Mm-hmm.
while the sloth is wasting away.
Pretty much. The very system that usually saves energy can, in that specific situation, actually lead to starvation because it's too slow. It's an incredibly fine line they walk.
That just puts their slowness in such a different light. It's not just about saving energy moving around. It's about managing their own internal processes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that slowness, of course, defines their movement too. Their muscles are just built for hanging, not walking.
Yeah, the sources compared their ground movement to like a slug dragging itself along. It's brutal.
It really is. We need to be clear on the speed, though. Some figures get thrown around, but the reality is about 4 meters per minute on the ground. Painfully slow.
4 meters a minute. So I saw another figure, something like 25 kilometers per hour. That sounds way too fast based on what you're saying.
Right. That's likely a misinterpretation or maybe a theoretical maximum burst over like a centimeter. It's not functionally relevant. Think about it. 4 meters a minute means crossing a football field would take, what, 20 minutes? Maybe more?
20 minutes to cross a field. Okay, yeah, that paints a picture. They're just incredibly vulnerable down there.
Totally exposed. Unless they end up in water. That's the one exception.
Ah, yes. the swimming. They're actually faster swimmers, aren't they?
About 4 times faster in water than on land, so if they need to cross a river, they can manage it surprisingly well. But again, it's specialized. On dry land, their survival relies almost entirely on not being seen.
Invisibility. Which brings us to maybe the strangest behavior of all.
No.
This weekly ritual, the Great Descent.
This is just one of the most counterintuitive things in the animal kingdom, I think. Unlike pretty much every other tree-dwelling animal, sloths have to climb all the way down to the forest floor once a week. Just to, well, poop.
Down into the jaguar zone. Just for a bathroom break. Why on earth risk that? Why not just, let it drop?
Because of the smell. The stank, as the sources put it. If they dropped that substantial weekly deposit from up high, the scent would basically act like a beacon, drawing predators right to their resting spot.
Ah, okay, so they have to go down, dig a little hole, do their business, and cover it up. All for scent camouflage.
Exactly. It's a mandatory, incredibly high-risk trip purely to avoid advertising their location.
And while they're down there taking this huge risk,
Mm-hmm.
something else amazing is happening, right? This whole ecosystem living in their fur. Moths.
Yes. It's this incredible symbiosis. Because sloths are slow and often damp, their fur becomes this perfect habitat. The sources describe entire colonies of specialized moths living in those long hairs.
So the sloth is basically a mobile home for moths.
Pretty much. And when the sloth makes that risky descent to defecate, the moths actually hop off and lay their eggs right there in the fresh dung.
Seriously, they synchronize their life cycle with the sloth's bathroom break.
They do. The larvae hatch, feed on the droppings, develop, and then the adult moths fly up into the canopy to find a new sloth host. It's this whole interconnected cycle.
Okay. So the moths get a safe nursery and food source, thanks to the sloth risking its life.
Yeah.
What does the sloth get out of lugging around a bunch of bugs, besides the danger?
Well, that's the genius part. The sloth gets camouflage. The moths, living in the fur, deposit their own waste, their droppings, and this acts like fertilizer.
Fertilizer in its fur.
Yep. Literal algae starts to grow on the sloth's fur, giving it this greenish tint. It's essential camouflage, helps them blend into the leafy canopy, hiding them from predators looking up, and crucially, from eagles looking down.
So the moths fertilize the sloth's invisibility cloak. That's incredible. They're a walking, living garden ecosystem. Does this green coat stay year-round?
It seems to be a pretty permanent state. Yeah, constantly refreshed by this moth poop algae cycle. And it gets even weirder.
How could it get weirder?
Well, there's evidence that the sloth actually grooms itself and eats some of the algae growing on its own fur.
No way. Edible clothes.
It's one of the very few examples known. They're literally getting a bit of nourishment from their own camouflage. It's just the ultimate, resourcefulness and integration with their environment, turning waste into fertilizer, into camouflage, into a snack.
Mind blown. That is hyper-efficiency taken to a whole new level. Every weird detail just slots perfectly into place for survival.
Exactly. It all serves that core goal,
Yeah.
survive for decades on almost nothing.
Okay, let's talk about the end game, biologically speaking. Reproduction. How does an animal built for near total stillness actually, find a mate?
Well, it starts with the female. When she's receptive, she lets out this really distinctive, piercing screech. The sources actually describe it as the sexiest sound a male sloth can hear.
A screech is sexy.
Oh.
Okay, so the male hears this love call, and he has to overcome his lifetime of programming for staying still and safe.
He does. Despite all the risks, the eagles, the jaguars, the sheer effort he's compelled to move, he has to descend, travel, find her. And this is probably the single biggest energy expense of his entire life.
How far are we talking? And how long does it take him?
Even if she's only a few trees away, given their speed, the sources suggest it could take him around 10 hours to reach her.
10 hours of constant movement and vulnerability just to find her.
10 hours, all that conserved energy, potentially years' worth, spent in one incredibly dangerous trek for that one critical purpose.
And after all that effort, the relationship is brief.
Extremely brief. After mating, the male just leaves. He never sees her or the offspring again. She'll carry the baby for about 6 months, raise it alone. He becomes a father, essentially, without ever knowing it.
Wow. Maximize the chance of reproduction, minimize any further energy cost. It fits the pattern.
It absolutely does. But this whole perfectly balanced, slow-motion existence, which worked for millennia, it's now facing threats it just isn't equipped for. The Anthropocene.
Yeah, the human age. How are we impacting these incredibly specialized creatures?
Well, the biggest issue mentioned in the sources is deforestation. When you remove the trees, you remove their home, their food, their safety. It forces them onto the ground more often, exposing them not just to natural predators, but to, well, us, and open spaces they can't handle.
More time on the ground means more risk. And then there's the tragic irony with cars, right?
Exactly. That amazing algae camouflage that hides them so well in the trees, it makes them incredibly hard for drivers to spot on roads, especially, dirt tracks through the
Yeah.
forests.
So the very thing that saves them in one context makes them vulnerable in another. Perfectly adapted for one world, fatally exposed in ours.
And there's another threat, too, being captured. Taken by humans, strange hairless primates, as one source put it, often for the illegal pet trade, removed from that whole complex ecosystem they need. A sloth outside its specialized canopy environment is basically doomed.
It really underscores how interconnected everything is for them. What this deep dive shows us is that every single strange thing, the slow digestion, that risky weekly descent, the algae coat, it's all part of this brilliant unified strategy for survival. They aren't lazy at all.
Not lazy, just hyper-efficient, constantly weighing the odds, conserving every joule of energy, and it highlights how fragile that balance is. You disrupt one piece, the trees, the moths, the camouflage, and the whole thing can just collapse. It's the ultimate ecological tightrope walk.
Which leads to a really interesting question for you, the listener, to think about. Evolution often seems to favor speed, aggression, fast metabolisms in mammals. Think cheetahs, wolves.
Right, the fast and the furious model of survival.
So the question is, what fundamental evolutionary pressure, the one that pushes other animals to be faster, stronger, hungrier, what was it that the sloth somehow managed to completely reject, to carve out its own unique path to long-term survival?
Yeah, that's something worth pondering, this incredible evolutionary nonconformity. And maybe it encourages you to look deeper into the conservation issues we touched on, the challenges facing these unique rainforest ecosystems today.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.